Good evening, good evening, good evening, everyone, and welcome to Scholarship Strategies powered by KR Scholars. We're so excited to have you here tonight, and you're really in for a treat. While you're coming in, please say hello in the comments and let me know which HBCU you are repping tonight. We're excited to have you here. Tonight is going to be an amazing night where we're going to help you navigate the scholarship process. If you're anything like me in undergrad, I had a mission to graduate college without the burden of student loan debt. And there's so much money out here, and KR Scholars is committed to helping our HBCU students graduate with that degree, that debt-free degree. So you're in the right place. We're excited to have you here again. And my name is Kristen Johnson. And together with my husband, Rufus, we are the founders of KR Scholars. I'm a 2011 graduate of Winston-Salem State. So shout out to the Rams. And my husband is a graduate of Fayetteville State University. So shout out to those Broncos. But we love all HBCUs. And so our nonprofit KR Scholars focuses on supporting and empowering HBCU students. Check out this video to see what KR Scholars is all about.
The knowledge and support that KR Scholars give to their students is priceless. And I am beyond proud to be a part of this year's KR Scholars Winner's Circle.
Welcome to the Winner's Circle. Awesome. So as you can see, KR Scholars is about all things HBCU scholars, and our mission is to empower student success beyond graduation by providing scholarships, workforce readiness, and financial literacy programming for HBCU students. We are an HBCU-led nonprofit. Our board are HBCU graduates, and so we're really passionate about this cause. Some of our programs, as I mentioned, are the HBCU Bridge, which focuses on high school students and helping them navigate college and be exposed positively to HBCUs. Then we have HBCU Money Masters, which is near and dear to my heart. It's our financial literacy arm where we help students learn skills like budgeting and savings and personal finance. And so we have virtual programs on that are open to any HBCU student to build financial literacy. We also have our HBCU Campus to Career. That's our workforce readiness program where we help students explore different careers and really prepare themselves for the transition from campus to career. Just last week, we had an event called Internship Insights, where we were helping students navigate the internship process. So this is another program that's open and available to all HBCU students. And last but certainly not least, our flagship program, Dollars for HBCU Scholars, is our scholarship program that we do annually, and it's open for sophomores, juniors, and seniors. We have a desire to, again, support HBCU students through scholarships, and so it's very, very competitive, but we know that everybody can't win a scholarship, so we wanted to have events like tonight. It's called Scholarship Strategies, where we can coach you on how to navigate the scholarship process in general. So you're in for a treat tonight. We have some of the best in the game talking about scholarships. So stay tuned and connect with us. So while we are getting ready to get started, I want to hear from you. Feel free to drop your HBCUs in the comment and connect with us on social media. We are always up to something great. And we want you to be able to join us and join the movement. So follow us on Instagram at KR Scholars to stay connected. And I see Gremlins in the house. Hey, Kaden. We got Hampton. We got Wiley, we got Howard, FAMU. Let me know if there are any others. And while you guys are doing that, we're going to do a giveaway to get the party started off right. This is a little pop quiz time. So the first person that can let me know what KR Scholars Financial Literacy Program is in the comments is going to win a prize. So drop that name of our financial literacy program that we just went over in the comment, and you will get the prize for our first giveaway. Hey, Sydney. Hey, Christian. Hi, Mary. Hey, Josiah. Xavier. Let me know who has that financial literacy program for our first prize winner. Drop it in the comments. What's the name of it? So we're gonna keep an eye on the chat, and the person that puts that name in there is gonna get our prize. So thanks again, you guys, for joining. I also want to give a huge thank you to Wiley University, a new partner and friend for KR Scholars. We're excited to welcome Wiley students as well as Wiley administration to this event and to partner with us. We're very excited to have Ms. Michelle Edwards as a new friend of KR Scholars and continue to look forward to continuing supporting Wiley University and coming on campus real soon. So tonight we have an amazing speaker. She's a scholarship guru. Miss Deja Daniel was able to graduate with more than $155,000 in external scholarship funds. And she got not one, but 2 debt-free degrees. And so she's here tonight. She is also a KR Scholar, one of our 2023 recipients, but she's a master of scholars. And so she's going to speak with us tonight. Here's a couple things about Deja before we bring her up. Deja is a recent graduate of Howard University, so shout out to the real HU. She obtained her BA in criminology and Spanish. And as I mentioned, during her time at Howard, she earned over 60 scholarships totaling more than $155,000 in scholarship funding. So she graduated with 2 debt-free degrees. She's won many prestigious awards, including KR Scholars, Taco Bell, United Negro College Fund, Wells Fargo, Thurgood Marshall. Shout out to all these amazing scholarship providers and many other notable honors. She's a strong advocate for free higher education and graduating debt-free. So let's give her a round of applause for that. And Deja aspires to help many other students achieve this same educational goal with financial freedom. She does that through her program, Igniting Scholarly Confidence. So go and check her out. And it's created with the purpose of helping and encouraging students to pursue scholarships and opportunities alike. She's had crazy experiences and opportunities, like being featured on CultureCon for her dedication to reducing student loan debt through scholarship mentorship. And she's spoken as an expert and enthusiast on various panels. With her proven track record and insider gems, she is here to help you win those scholarships and secure the bag. So put secure the bag in the chat if you're ready. And without further ado, Deja's here to share her knowledge with the KR Scholars program and help you unlock the treasure to the funds you deserve. So stay tuned and welcome Deja.
Good evening, everyone. And thank you so much, Kristen, for that wonderful, amazing intro. And thank you for inviting me today as well. As she said, my name is Deja Daniel, but I don't think I need to introduce myself any further. I know what you all are here for is to learn how to win scholarships. So let's just get right into it. So for the first portion of this presentation, I just want to know you all's thoughts on applying for scholarships. What comes to mind when you think about paying for school and things of that nature? So we're going to start off with this poll, and you can scan that QR code up there. And once you scan that QR code, all you're going to do is enter your name, and then you're going to start putting in words that you think of when you think about paying for college or when you think about scholarships. So go ahead and start scanning that QR code and just putting up some words on the screen. I'll give you all about 30 seconds to do that. And Kristen also dropped the link to the poll in the chat, so you all can begin just putting in some words that you think of when you think about paying for college. Maybe it's loans, maybe it's expensive. That's why you all are here, for one. So let's just see those words coming in. All right, so I see a few coming in now. Contribution, that's a great one. What are you going to be able to contribute to society, or maybe a contribution to yourself from the Scholarship Foundation? I see family, supporting family is another huge one. Overwhelming, that's definitely true. It could be overwhelming. Refund checks, that's a good thing about scholarships, is that you're able to get those refund checks. Debt, yes, we want to avoid debt as much as we can. Expensive, it's very expensive to pay for college. So that's the end of the poll. But if you can just keep on thinking throughout the presentation, some words that come to mind when you think about paying for college, and I'll try to do my best to address any concerns that you have about paying for college through this scholarship presentation now. So let's head back over to the presentation. Thank you. All right. So to start off, since someone did say loans, I did think it was best to address what loans are and basically just the purpose of applying for scholarships so that you can avoid having to pay off student loans. So student loans are money that you have to borrow from the government or from private entities to pay for your higher education. But the catch is that you have to pay that money back. And that's in addition to interest, which is additional money that you have to pay to a lender, the person who you borrow money from. So there are two main types of loans. You have your public loans, which are funded by the federal government, and then you have your private student loans. So public loans, like I said, they're funded by the federal government, and then private loans are offered by banks and other lenders such as Sallie Mae. We all heard of Sallie Mae at some point in our lives while we were preparing for college. And for public student loans, you can apply for either subsidized or unsubsidized student loans. So subsidized student loans are loans for undergraduate students with financial need. So you have to be able to demonstrate that you have a financial need, and they're good for not paying for interest while you're in school. So you don't have to pay that money back while you're in school. You can let it sit. But also the federal government does help you pay off the interest on those loans while you're in school. So that's the benefit of applying for subsidized loans. But then applying for that was the benefit for applying for unsubsidized loans. But the benefit of applying for subsidized loans is that you can qualify for those either as an undergraduate student or as a graduate student. But the catch is that you don't get assistance paying off that interest from the federal government. And then lastly, private loans have higher interest rates on them, especially from private lenders such as Sallie Mae. So public loans are more preferred over private loans if you do have to go into the loan route of paying off your college tuition. And so to apply for all of these loans that I just discussed, I think the big thing that we all are familiar with is FAFSA, the free application for federal student aid. And so the FAFSA is expected to open either before or on December 1st, 2024. And the deadline to apply for the FAFSA is June 30th, 2025 to go into this next school year, the 2025 through 2026 school year. Though I do want to stress that it's highly recommended that you apply for the FAFSA early on while you are financing your education. And certain schools actually have deadlines that they want you to meet in order to submit the FAFSA by. So I would definitely ask your school's financial aid office what that deadline is. But there are also state deadlines. Certain states have deadlines that they want you to submit your FAFSA by. And I actually put a link right there where you can check what the deadline is for your specific state. I'll also be providing an additional resources document that you all can look to, and you all can have access to that website right there. But that will be provided either in the chat or in the email that you will receive after this event. So now moving on to my scholarship success story. So as you can see, there are several pictures of just my time, what I've reaped, the benefits that I reaped from applying for scholarships, and just different things that I've been able to do as a result of applying to multiple scholarships. So just to go through this timeline. So the first picture to the left here in the top left was when I actually won the high school Heisman scholarship for my school. Even though I didn't receive money, it was just the recognition that I won. And it was something that started off my grind in applying for scholarships. So then I applied for more scholarships throughout my time in high school, and I was ultimately able to be like the highest scholarship dollar winner for my high school. They call it like the $1 million club at my high school, but I was able to be the winner for that, and that was through the college scholarships that I actually received. And so following that, I was able to receive plenty more scholarships. I was able to become the first scholarship recipient for a lot of scholarship foundations who were just starting out offering money to students. I was able to win the Taco Bell Live My Scholarship, which is a very popular scholarship amongst the student community. I was able to even fund a trip to Madrid, Spain, where I was able to actually study law abroad. And so that's a picture of me in the right hand corner, where I was actually in the Constitutional Court for Madrid. And then I've also been able to award my own scholarships through different organizations. I was a Scholarship Owl ambassador. I've been on many trips, such as I've been to Nashville, I've been to California, Houston, New York, and most of these trips were actually my first time in these cities. So scholarships definitely helped me to fund my experience within these different cities. I've also been able to speak on different scholarship panels. As you can see there, I've actually hosted a previous event with KR Scholars. And I've just been able to do so many wonderful things as a result of applying to scholarships. So I really do encourage and motivate you all to, if you are already in the process of applying, to keep applying. But if you aren't in the process of applying, to definitely start applying to scholarships, because it's much more than just money. There's mentorship that you gain out of it. There's trips that you gain out of it. There's advice, professional development advice that you can gain out of it, because some scholarship programs do hold different career development series for their recipients, and also just for the general public, such as this one. So there's just so many things that you can gain as a result of applying to scholarships. And moving on now to managing and organizing applications, because it's hard to apply for scholarships without actually knowing how you're going to apply. What days are you going to apply for scholarships? Not knowing where your scholarships are at, how to find the links for them. Because if you just have scholarships that you are searching for online, but no technique to actually trying to fill out that application, then it can become really difficult. So the first thing that I really want to stress to you all is to create an easily accessible scholarship tracker. And so for me, for instance, I was able to create my scholarship tracker on my Notes app on my phone. If you do have an iPhone, then I'm sure that you're familiar with the Notes app on your phone. But for me, when I first started off applying for scholarships, I used to create categories for different parts of the application. So for one, I would list the name of the scholarship within my scholarship tracker, the link to the application, the amount of the award, the deadline. I would set the deadline to at least a week in advance of the actual deadline, just to kind of trick myself and motivate me to apply earlier rather than later. I would also include the scholarship contact information, the mission statement of the foundation/organization, and I'll get into why I would list that information later on in the presentation. I would list if the scholarship application, or if the scholarship was renewable. And by renewable, I mean if I did win in 2021, for instance, was I able to win again in 2022 and in 2023? Was I able to keep receiving that money for multiple years throughout my education? And then lastly, the last category that I would list is the announcement date of the scholarship award, just so that you can keep track of when you are receiving those scholarship notifications, and if you happen to, or if you need to follow up with an organization to see what the update is on your application. And so the next thing I would do is I would either create a weekly or a monthly scholarship list. When I was younger, when I was younger, I'm not that old, but when a few years ago, I would actually create a weekly scholarship list as opposed to a monthly scholarship list. And my weekly scholarship list would consist of me applying to scholarships mainly every day. I was really dedicated to this process, and I was just really on my grind, especially during the year of school where I was actually doing school online virtually at Howard. I would be applying to scholarships every day. And so I would make sure that I categorize each scholarship, when I was going to apply for the scholarships, what days and what times I was going to apply for the scholarships. And then the last point that I want to make about managing and organizing your applications is creating a specific folder within either your computer. I would suggest your computer, in your files, to basically just have one place, one set location where you could pull all of your application materials, whether that's your essays, your resume, your letters of recommendation, and just everything that is required for scholarship applications. I would just have that within one set location within your computer file, so that it's not hard to find it. You can easily go back to it, and you can just easily swap out different documents whenever needed. So moving on to debunking common scholarship myths. Because I've been in this game for so long, I've heard just about everything under the sun about scholarships that just aren't true. So the first thing that I want to debunk is that scholarships are for everyone. A lot of people say scholarships are only for people with high GPAs. Scholarships are only for people who have a certain background. Scholarships are only for a certain type of people, but they're not. There are multiple types of scholarships, and I listed them here. So the first one is merit-based, and merit-based just means scholarship committees are reviewing you and evaluating your application based off of your things like your grades, how well you performed in school. So those are the applications where if you don't have a high GPA, you may want to apply for different scholarships. And there are scholarships that you can apply for, such as need-based scholarships. Those are scholarships where the committee evaluates you based off of your financial need. There are service-based scholarships where basically anybody who does community service can apply for these. There are interest-based scholarships. So let's say, for instance, you have an interest in baseball, or you have an interest in another sport, or you have an interest in dogs. I've seen basically anything. I've seen a scholarship for a lot of different interests, even for like people who are left-handed, people who are interested in cars. There are so many scholarships out there for people with a plethora of interests. So if you don't think that there's a scholarship for you, I would highly suggest looking up your interest and then just adding scholarship at the end of your search and seeing what pops up. And then lastly, there are also full and partial scholarships. So full scholarships are mainly the scholarships out that colleges award to students when they're an incoming freshman. And then those partial scholarships are scholarships such as the KR Scholars Scholarship and other external scholarships that you can receive outside of your college. Next is, it's never too late to apply for scholarships. A lot of college students have this misconception that it's too late for them to apply to college, especially after their freshman year, that there's no scholarships out there for them. I just listed a bunch of different scholarships that you can apply to. Scholarship committees are looking for students who are older too and who still need assistance of paying for their college education. So definitely don't think that it's too late for you to apply for scholarships. There are scholarships out there for anyone at any point in their educational journey. You just really have to know how to find them, which I'll get into in the next few slides. Applying for scholarships is not a waste of time. A lot of students complain that it's a waste of time, that you don't get anything out of it, but I actually have an example of why it's not a waste of time. It's shown to the left here. So that top picture, it's an email. It's a screenshot of an email that I received from a scholarship committee, and they actually told me that I was not awarded the scholarship. But then they told me that I was able to receive $500 just because it was the year of 2020. A lot was going on, and they awarded me $500, which I didn't care what they said at that point. It felt like I was a winner. So definitely still apply for scholarships, because even if you aren't selected as a winner, maybe the committee has leftover money that they can award to you. And in this case, I was actually able to receive $500, and I wasn't even awarded as a winner, but it was still a winning in my book. So definitely apply. Next is, a scholarship rejection is an opportunity for you to leave a good impression on the scholarship committee. I'll get more into that a little later, but a lot of people say that rejection is redirection, and I totally agree with that. If you do get denied from a scholarship, I would say to follow up with that scholarship committee and apply again for the scholarship, because you don't know what could happen if you apply again, especially if that committee recognizes your application or maybe your name or just your interest in the scholarship. It can definitely benefit you in the long run. Scholarships are open year round. There's this huge misconception that scholarships are only open like in the beginning of the year, around the fall time or around the winter time. But scholarships are open year round. There's no set time to apply for scholarships. You can find a scholarship that's due in any month of the school year. And then lastly, there's no limit to how many scholarships you can win. As you heard earlier from Kristen, I was able to win over 60 scholarships throughout my time in college. And I'm still applying for scholarships because I'm going to law school. So there's definitely no limit to how many scholarships you can win. You can win as many as you need for school. And I would just encourage you to keep applying and apply for as many as you can, because they start to add up, as you can see from the number of scholarships that I won. So where can you find scholarships? I think it's very important to present this information, because it's one thing to apply for scholarships and know how to effectively apply, but it's another thing to know how to find scholarships that fit who you are as a person and don't fit everyone. It's not a bucket of applications out there. It's only like a limited number. So the first thing is within your network of supporters. When I first started applying to scholarships, I would tell everybody that I was applying. I would just tell like family members, people at my school, teachers, just anybody who knew me, friends. And I would actually start getting people to send me scholarship applications. And so I definitely wouldn't avoid the word of mouth and just spreading the word about you applying for scholarships, because it can be very, very beneficial. And actually, my first scholarship that I won was because I told my high school receptionist that I was applying for scholarships. And then she nominated me for a scholarship. And that was the very first scholarship that I ever won while I was still a senior in high school. So definitely don't shy away from telling people that you're applying for scholarships. Next is your church or local churches in the area. They do give out scholarships, not just for people who are within their congregation, but also for people who are just applying to college within their city or college bound within the area. So definitely don't shy away from churches as well, even if you're not religious. The next thing is your university's website. I have an example right there of Howard's website to the left, where it lists different scholarships and grants that students can apply to. But also, I would recommend searching on other universities' websites. So, for instance, I live in Atlanta, so I would search on Georgia State's website because it is a state school. And I would just find many scholarships on there that the university was recommending that people who only live in Georgia can apply to. So it's very beneficial to look on universities' websites that are located within your area because you can find those very niche scholarships that only are applicable to a limited amount of students. And then I also have local law firms, credit unions and banks, college alumni associations. One of my scholarships that I won most recently was from a college alumni association, the Howard University Atlanta Alumni Association. So if you do have, if you live in a metro area or in a city or state that has an alumni association or that you think would have an alumni association, definitely look it up and see if they offer a scholarship as well. And then there's also your state Department of Education website, radio and TV stations. It sounds kind of crazy, but I did hear a scholarship promoted on the radio once, and I actually ended up applying for it. So definitely listen out when you're listening to the radio, if you still listen to the radio, or on TV, because I've also seen scholarships promoted on TV channels as well. And then there's also grocery stores and franchises, different businesses that offer scholarships, such as Denny's, Walmart, Burger King, and the list goes on and on and on. And your job or your family member's job, a scholarship that I won was actually from my dad's job. And I would have never known about it if I didn't tell him to ask if his job offered a scholarship. So definitely do ask your family members. And by family members, I mean immediate family, like mom, dad, grandparents, sister, not really extended beyond that, just because most scholarships, if they offer a scholarship, most jobs don't offer them to extended family members. So definitely just ask around about that. And then lastly, my biggest one would be social media. That's where I've received the bulk of my scholarships, I would say. I've had a lot of success looking for scholarships on social media, such as Instagram, Twitter, well, now known as X, Facebook, LinkedIn, Pinterest, and YouTube. And then I just have examples of things that I've been able to find, like the picture right to the left of that part of the slide. It shows how I was able to search for HBCU scholarships on Twitter. I also have a picture to the right of that, which is showing how I was able to search for HBCU scholarships on Instagram using the hashtag. And then I also was able to find videos on scholarships through YouTube, as you can see to the far right there. So definitely don't neglect what you use every day, which is social media. So moving on to ways that you can indirectly search for scholarships. So there are so many websites out there that students are using to search for scholarships. And the only problem with that is that so many students are gravitating towards those websites that the same students are applying for the same scholarships. So the competition is very fierce. It gets very heavily packed within those applications. So I would honestly recommend searching for scholarships through non-scholarship based websites. And it's a very effective way to find scholarships that are not being shown to multiple students. So I have a few tools listed below that I want to kind of show you how to navigate them. But before I do show you that, I just want to explain what each of them are. So the first one is a community foundation locator, and that's great for finding community foundations and organizations, nonprofits in your neighborhood who provide scholarships. So they aren't necessarily going to tell you that they offer a scholarship or show you that they offer scholarships. You'll have to go and do that research on your own, but this tool will help you to locate those foundations that may offer a scholarship. And then the next one, since we are talking about HBCUs here and just helping HBCUs find scholarships, I wanted to also highlight the National Panhellenic Council, or as most students know, the D9. So a lot of D9 organizations offer scholarships to students, especially local D9 organizations offer scholarships to students in their area. So I would just recommend going to that website. And if you aren't familiar with D9, just looking at the different organizations on the website and looking up. For instance, I'll use Alpha Kappa Alpha, looking up Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, adding your location. So I would put Atlanta and then scholarships. And actually, the first scholarship that popped up when I searched that was a scholarship that I won maybe 3 or 4 years ago. and it was by a chapter that is local to Atlanta, to the Atlanta area. So definitely look up just different D9 organizations and add scholarships to the end of that name to see what you can find out there. And then lastly, your congressional representatives. So these scholarships are really not that publicly advertised. And so the way that you can find representatives that offer scholarships is by reaching out to them. And so I have a way to show you all how to do how to do all of these things and how to navigate all of these websites. So I'm going to start sharing my screen with the Community Foundation Locator just to show you how I would utilize this tool. All right, so you all should be able, oh wait, sorry. All right, you should be able to see my screen now. So this is the Community Foundation Locator, and on this website, you can actually just search for different community foundations in your area. I wouldn't suggest using these functions because it just kind of makes everything weird on the website. But as you can see, there's a lot of green dots, and those green dots represent different community foundations. So I'm just gonna zoom in on my area, which is Atlanta, and there are a few foundations here. So what I would do is I would click on the green dot, and then I would see the name, which is the North Georgia Community Foundation. And from there, I would either go to their website or type in on my search bar, North Georgia Community Foundation, and just add scholarship at the end. And I was actually able to do that and find a plethora of scholarships that they offered on that website. So that's a really great tool that you can use for any state that you're in or any state that is has relevance to you. There's so many community foundations out there, so many green dots on this website. So I would definitely utilize this as one tool. And then the second tool that I want to show you is how to search for your congressional representative, unless in case you are not familiar with who that is. All right. So this website will help you find out who your representatives are in your area. So for instance, I'm just going to type in Atlanta. Of course, you can type in your exact address to get the exact representatives who represent you. And then the website will pop up with it would have been popped up by now, but okay, so here it goes. So I already know who my representatives are. They're to the bottom. But for instance, Senator John Ossoff, if you wanted to know if he offered a scholarship, you could actually just reach out to his office and click that contact button right there to reach out. And I'll actually show you a way on how to reach out and how to word different emails and different messages that you can send to people who you are requesting a scholarship from. But like I said, these scholarships that are offered by representatives aren't really advertised to the public. So you definitely have to do that outreach. And because not many students know that, you'll be in a limited applicant pool. You may just be the only person who reached out to ask about a scholarship. So even if they don't offer a scholarship, maybe they can point you in the direction of somewhere where you can finance your education, or even just provide you with some type of financial assistance if they don't offer that scholarship. All right. So, and then the last way that I wanted to show you all how to indirectly search for scholarships is by searching for scholarships that you already applied for. So to the left of the screen, as you can see, oh, sorry about that. Okay, to the left of the screen, as you can already see, I have pictures of times when I was actually denied from scholarships. And I really wanted to show that because to the right of those pictures, there are also emails when I was notified that I actually won those same scholarships that I was once denied from. And so I just really want to hone in on the importance of keeping track of the scholarships that you applied to, because you can reapply for those scholarships. And I'll show you how to even ask how to frame your pitch when it comes to telling scholarships that you're going to reapply for their scholarship, because there is a certain way that you let people know, like, hey, even though I didn't win the scholarship, I'm still very appreciative, and I would like to let you know that I will be applying again either the following application cycle or the following year, however often they award their scholarship. But I just wanted to show that, for instance, because a lot of people don't think that I get denied from scholarships, but I do. But the power is in using that denial to really fuel your motivation to apply again. Okay, so next, also talking about optimizing your scholarship search strategy. So there are different ways to search the internet to get a variety of different results, and the same applies when you're searching for scholarships. So I just have a few different strategies listed here that you can utilize when you're applying for scholarships and when you're searching for those scholarships. So the first one is when it comes to actually typing in what you're searching in on your search bar. So for instance, you want to type in your major, organizations, and then scholarships. And I have an example right there. For instance, my major was criminology when I was in college. So I would type in something like criminology, organizations, scholarships. Or because criminology is very niche and sometimes people don't have specific majors that are named criminology, I would also type in criminal justice organization scholarships. So also think of different ways that you can word your major that could really that could really vary up your scholarship search results. The next thing is diversifying your search. Like I was just saying, you want to also maybe put some things in quotes, put them in capital letters, add dashes, and use different acronyms to enhance your search. So I have an example right there. Public Policy Association and Scholarship, and I put public in quotations in the next one to say Public Policy Association, and then I put dash scholarship, and then I just utilize an acronym, PPA scholarships. And even if the acronym doesn't apply to public policy, maybe you'll find some different scholarships for another thing that you can apply for. So it's just all about thinking of different creative ways to really optimize that search for you. And then lastly, more ways that you can find scholarships is by using alternative search engines. So I know we're probably all used to Safari and Google, but there's also Bing and Yahoo and just so many other different search engines that you can utilize. And those different search engines will pop up with different results for scholarships. The next thing is subscribing to Scholarship Foundation's emails. I know KR Scholars has a newsletter that they send out, but when you subscribe to those different emails, you'll be able to receive different scholarship opportunities flooding into your inbox. That happened to me when I first started applying. I would subscribe to different foundations' emails, and I would just get all of these newsletters with different scholarships being promoted. And I actually got one newsletter where a scholarship was being promoted that no one had applied to. Even though I wasn't eligible to apply, I still made sure to share it amongst my network, just because there are so many scholarships out there that people just don't realize are even out there and available for students. So definitely subscribe to those newsletters. Next is contacting local businesses and nonprofit organizations to ask if they offer a scholarship. I used to do this a lot when I first started applying, and sometimes you may get a no, but also you may get a yes. I remember one time I actually called a nonprofit organization that offered a scholarship, and at the time they weren't offering a scholarship, but they really loved my dedication, and they were able to provide me some money just to help finance my tuition or just to help with anything that I needed to pay for when it came to college. And so that was a really great example of how you can utilize contacting these different organizations and foundations to your benefit. Even if they aren't able to give you a scholarship, maybe they're able to just provide you with some financial assistance on the back end. And I would honestly call about 3 organizations a day. I would do my research and then call them up, tell them about myself, tell them why I'm going to college and why I would be a great return on investment, and just see what they have to say, because the worst that they could say is no. And then lastly, I use hashtags to search for scholarships on social media. And like I mentioned earlier, I do have an additional resources document that will be provided either within this presentation or at the end of the presentation. And I actually have a list of scholarship hashtags that I follow on Instagram, for instance, just to help me search for scholarships. That is also a way for scholarships to be promoted within your timeline, within your feed. Like at one point, I wasn't even searching for scholarships. They were just coming to me. It would just be on my timeline. That was all that I would get fed on my timeline. So it really was helpful in the long run when I utilized these different scholarship search strategies, because I just no longer had to really search. The scholarships would just come to me, which was really helpful. So now we're going to talk about tailoring your application for different scholarship types. Like I mentioned earlier, there are different scholarships like the merit-based scholarship, service-based, and so on and so forth. But there are also different prompts when it comes to applying for scholarships. And what I found in my experience applying for scholarships are that there are really like 4 main different prompts that scholarships recycle and utilize. And so those 4 are community service / leadership, your why or your personal statement, your future career goals, and overcoming challenges. So for the first one, when you're discussing your community service, your impact on the community, your leadership abilities, and so on and so forth. I really want to emphasize that you include different things such as how many times a week were you engaged in those activities? Was it 2 days or 2 hours per week? But just really using that quantitative data to really hone in on how often you were involved in that activity so the scholarship committee can see your dedication to it. Next, how many people did you help? Maybe you don't have a certain number, but you can also guesstimate and estimate that number. But it just really shows like how big is your impact. Even if it is smaller, you can really just show how dedicated you were to helping out maybe like 1 or 2 people on a weekly basis. Next are the results of your actions, either through leadership or as a member/volunteer of the foundation. And what I really want to emphasize here is what I have in parentheses right there, which is utilizing your discretion to create a leadership title, especially if you weren't officially given one during an activity, but you still displayed leadership qualities. For instance, I was a part of an organization where I didn't necessarily have a leadership position, but I still was taking on a leadership role within that organization. And so within my essays, within my resume, I really made sure that I gave myself a title, even though I didn't necessarily have a title. And that's just a way that you can really play to your strengths and really emphasize your leadership abilities. Even if you don't think that you have a leadership position on campus or off campus, you can basically create one for yourself or just detail what you did within that role that really displayed leadership. Next is when discussing your why. So when we talk about your why, we're really talking about the personal statement, like things that you had to submit for college acceptance, your college applications. So we're just talking about your story, like what do you really want to convey to your reader. So the first thing that you want to make sure to include is make the reader aware of your plans for funding your education through scholarships and how much that scholarship would mean to you. And what I mean by that is really let the reader know what you're going to utilize those funds towards. And I'll speak a little more about that a little later. But you really just want to like invite them into your world. What is the need for this scholarship and what would it mean to you? How could it help you? How could it help your family? How could it help your community? So really hone in on answering that question. Next is discussing your setbacks. Like what is it that set you back maybe within either the college application process or like accomplishing your career goals, or just something that has really shown that you have grown and that you have strengths that you utilize within your journey to getting where you are now. So definitely just show that you have the ability to overcome different and difficult situations. And then lastly, mentioning your role models and inspirations are also very beneficial when it comes to addressing your why. So for instance, something not to do would be to basically just take the whole essay talking about someone who was very influential in your life, but not necessarily highlighting who you are and how y'all connected. Basically, just taking the essay to talk just about that one person and not really talking about you is a big no-no. And a lot of students do tend to do that. While it is great that you have someone very beneficial who has impacted your life, you want to make sure to stray away from just talking about that person. Also add yourself into the story as well. Moving on to discussing your career goals. There's so many essays that I've come across within scholarship applications where they ask me to discuss what are my career goals. And while some people may not know what that is per se right now at this moment in their life, some people do. And here are some tips to help you just explain what your goals are, even if you don't really have a certain goal that you're trying to reach just yet, or don't have a certain career that you're trying to attain just yet. The first thing is telling the reader why you chose your major, because a lot of us do have or I did have a major, but a lot of y'all have majors. And if you don't have a major, just telling them like, what is it that drove you to go to college as well? So you really just want to explain why you chose your major in regards to either your career or why you went to your certain college in regards to your future goals. Next is what you plan on doing at your college if you are in college, and then what are you currently involved in. And what I mean by what you're currently involved in, don't not just listing what you're involved in, but actually detailing what you're involved in. What do you do in those organizations? How have you made an impact? Basically going back to those other essay questions. Just explaining what you're involved in and not really saying what you do in those organizations is also, I would say, a no, just because it doesn't really give the reader insight into how you're making an impact and how you would be a great return on investment. And then lastly, for discussing your career goals, what do you plan on doing after you graduate? Even though, like I said, some people don't have a clear idea on what this is, you still have some sort of direction that you're looking to go into. And scholarship committees really love to see students who have that clear direction, listing step by step what their plan is, what their 5-year plan is. I would list that a lot in my essays. And even if I don't follow that plan, it still just shows the scholarship committee that at least you have a plan and you are dedicated to sticking to it. And then lastly, when discussing overcoming a challenge, this is also another big scholarship prompt that I see a lot. Make sure that you discuss your trials to triumphs, because what I see a lot of students like to do is just trauma dump and just give scholarship committees a really sad story, which you can talk about a story that was really impactful and that really just reframes your mindset. But make sure that when you are discussing those trials, you also discuss how you overcame those trials. What were you doing? How did you grow from it? What did you learn from it? Which leads into the next part, which is discussing scholarship projections. I mean, I feel like we've all had them at some point, and still possibly going through scholarship projections, but discussing that scholarship projection or scholarship projections overall really helps to show that you are persevering through this process of applying to scholarships, that you are a dedicated student, that no matter what, no one is going to stand in your way of obtaining a debt-free degree. And that's what I did a lot when I first started applying to scholarships. I would get rejected. I would get rejected left and right, but I still showed committees that I was still applying, and I made sure to mention because it really did show my perseverance and how I was able to still apply even though I may have been set back. And then lastly, your strengths, which kind of goes into your personal growth. But you just want to make sure that you discuss what did you gain from this experience. If it was a very difficult experience, a very difficult challenge, how were you able to overcome it and then take what you learned and utilize it in other parts of your life? Because like I said, scholarship committees don't just like to see the trauma portion of the essay, but they also like to see the aftermath of it. What did you learn? How did you grow? And things like that. So now talking about perfecting the application pitch in regards to the essays. So while some scholarships may not require you to highlight certain details of an application or a part of your life, you still want to make sure to address them in your essay because they can set you apart from other applicants and enhance the quality of your application. So for instance, explicitly stating how you plan to use the scholarship funds, like I said earlier, whether it's for books, housing, meal plans, etc., can really make your essay stand out amongst the crowd and just show that you went the extra mile to discuss something that the scholarship committee did not even ask for you to discuss. Next is to add a professional touch. Consider including your signature at the end of your essays, which is something that I learned actually from watching scholarship videos. But that scholarship, the essay that you submit, that you add at the end of your essays, it's only applicable when you apply for scholarships where you can actually submit a Word document or a PDF document. So just be mindful of that. And then ultimately, you just want to leave your reader with a clear understanding of why investing in you is a worthwhile decision. And so we are running a bit on time, so I won't go through each one of these examples in detail, but I did just want to show you guys examples of how I was able to implement some of these things within my essays. So the first thing is re-emphasizing the scholarship's mission and make a personal connection to it. That is the reason why I told y'all to add in the mission of the scholarship when you are making your scholarship tracker, because then you can go back to your essay and really hone in on that mission and say how you relate to it. How do you relate to the founder? In that specific essay, I mentioned how I related to the founder's goals and aspirations. Second, you want to make sure that you vividly explain what you've done so far to pursue your goals and how you plan to make an impact in your field. And by doing this, you can also create imagery for your reader and engage your reader by incorporating hyperlinks. And so that's something that I do again when I'm able to actually submit the application through a Word document or PDF document. But creating hyperlinks for your reader is so helpful and it makes you stand out a lot. And then also explaining what you've done to pursue your goals, because a lot of people just explain what they hope to accomplish and not necessarily what they've already done so far. So if you add in that extra component, it can really help you stand out from the crowd. And then lastly, briefly describe any terms specific to your major or the organizations that you mentioned within your essay. This should go without saying, but I have seen it a lot where students neglect to define a certain term within their scholarship essay that many average people may not know the definition to, or they neglect to describe what their organization is. So you just want to make sure that you really define those things for your reader so that they don't have to look up a certain word or a certain term, because 9 times out of 10 they possibly won't, and they might just throw your application to the side. So you definitely want to make sure that you're making it as easy as possible for your reader to understand what you're conveying. So now I want to discuss perfecting the application pitch in regards to your videos. So even though there are essay scholarship applications where you have to submit an essay, there are also scholarship applications where you have to submit a video. And so for one, I want to make sure that you all write a script when it comes to creating these videos, and make sure that you practice it to ensure that you stay within the time limit, because a lot of these videos and a lot of these scholarships only ask you to stay within 2 minutes, or maybe a 5-minute time limit, or maybe 1 minute. Sometimes I've actually seen that, and I've had to record videos that were only supposed to be 1 minute long, and students may end up recording it to be over 30 seconds longer than what it was intended to be. So if you do have that problem and you think that you are going to go over the time limit, record it in clips. I'm great for doing that. I've done that a lot, and it's really helped me to stay within that time constraint. Next is choose an attire and a background that aligns with your topic. And what I mean by that is, for instance, a lot of my videos either talked about law or talked about my passion for service. So I would actually go to the courthouse that I used to intern at, and I would record my videos at different areas of the courthouse, and make sure that I dress like a lawyer, because you have to dress for the job that you want, not the job that you have. And so really just embody what your future will look like if awarded the scholarship. Make the scholarship committee see that, like, this is your future. Like, you are investing in someone who's already talking the talk and walking the walk. And so I have some examples to the right there of my attire and background for various different scholarship videos. And just to highlight a few of them, like one of me in front of the Capitol, one of me in front of the school because I was talking about my service within education, one with the HBCU made shirt on because it was the HBCU based scholarship. It was actually for KR scholars. One with the Juneteenth Foundation shirt on because I was doing a scholarship video for the Juneteenth Foundation. And then the last one is in front of Taco Bell. I actually just drove right down the road and recorded my video in front of Taco Bell for the Taco Bell is my scholarship. And so just make sure that you align your video with either your future career goals or with the scholarship itself. And then incorporate language that the scholarship uses. I know a big one for at least the Taco Bell Foundation is passion. They talk about passion a lot. So like really just incorporate those certain words that the committee uses and that the foundation uses, so that they can see that you are like you really did your homework. You really know like what we are looking for when we're reviewing these applications. And then lastly, in terms of video, is to make sure that you're confident. Be confident in your authenticity. And then also look directly at the camera too, because a lot of people, they tend to either look down when they're doing their videos or just look everywhere but the camera. But you want to make sure that your focus is on the scholarship reviewer and that they have your undivided attention, and vice versa. Have good posture as well. Some people slouch down when they're making their videos, which it just shows that maybe you don't know what you're talking about. You aren't confident in what you're talking about. And it just shows overall that you may not be very dedicated to this scholarship. So you want to make sure that you exude the utmost confidence. And then lastly, speak with conviction. Make sure that, like I said, that will really, writing the script will really help you speak with conviction. And then I know that we have my scholarship video, but I don't know if we're going to play it at this moment. But if not, I'll just go ahead and move forward. Okay, so insights to help you win scholarships. And I'll just run through these pretty briefly just because we are running a little short on time. But first, apply for scholarships that fit your niche, meaning they cater to your career interests and personal background/needs. You don't want to apply for a scholarship that everyone and their mama is applying to. You want to really make sure that you hone in on who you are and apply for scholarships that fit your personality, your background, your, where you're from. Attend scholarship webinars such as this one, so this is a great start, or join lives hosted by scholarships you're applying to and get your name out there by interacting during the presentation. That's just a great way for the scholarship committee to remember your name, remember who you are. Next is watch YouTube videos about scholarships, which I touched on earlier. if a scholarship has extended their deadline, then that means you should definitely apply, because most likely they extended that deadline because they had little to no applicants, or applicants as requested for a deadline extension. And when I see a deadline extension, that's just a ringer that goes off in my head that says, hey, I need to apply for the scholarship. They obviously didn't have that many applicants, so let me go ahead and apply since they extended the deadline. Next is build a strong relationship with at least 3 professionals who can speak to your work ethic, volunteerism, and commitment to your future goals. And you really want to make sure that you have that diversity within the people who you ask for letters of recommendation, because sometimes scholarships don't want to hear about how you are in the classroom. They want to hear how you are outside of the classroom as well. This is something that should go without saying, but I have seen it before where people don't read the terms and conditions of a scholarship, and they submitted the application too late because within the terms and conditions, the application stated that it was due at 3 p.m. Pacific, and you submitted it at 8 p.m. Eastern. So you just definitely want to make sure that if a scholarship foundation does have that information that they provide, especially a deadline for the application, adhere to the deadline, because they will not review your application if you submit it too late. And then lastly, complete all of the optional sections of a scholarship application, because if you don't, it just leaves the reader thinking, what are they missing? Like, what are they leaving out within the application? Maybe they don't fully know who you are, and you can really express who you are a little more within those optional sections. And then I won't really explain the picture to the left, but you can read the caption, and as you can see, that was a chance that I got to collaborate with a YouTuber who I actually used to watch a lot to gain advice on scholarships. So that was a really cool opportunity that I just put right there, and also another benefit of applying to scholarships. So making yourself stand out. And I'll go ahead and mention the images to the left, which is a thank you letter that I submitted to a scholarship that was offering, actually it was a giveaway. It was a scholarship giveaway. So I really didn't have to do much for the scholarship, but just submit little information about myself and what I did to complete the requirements of the giveaway. But I also made sure to include a thank you note and include a little more about myself, because even though they only asked for a few little details, I wanted to make sure that I stood out from everyone else, and that I express who I am, what my goals are, how I would plan to impact the community, and how I can be a great return on investment. And so going more into making yourself stand out, if there's a local scholarship that you're completing, and if the scholarship has a physical address that you can go to in person, submit your local scholarships application in person. That just really shows that you went the extra mile to do that. Next is calling the scholarship provider. I kind of spoke on this earlier, but when you call the scholarship provider, make sure that you introduce yourself and express further interest in the scholarship by asking a question. I didn't do this all the time, but I did it here and there, and that just really helps to also get your name just seen a little more, and your application may be put to the top of the pile. I already discussed thank you letters, so again, you can take a picture of the example that I have to the left. Next, explicitly state the name of the scholarship. Again, in the example to the left, I actually bolded the name of the scholarship, my name, and then the person's name who was giving away the scholarship. And for one, that helps them remember your name because you bolded it. And two, that helps them know that you really place the scholarship of you are placing the scholarship to a priority. Like, it's a priority for you applying for this scholarship. So when you bold and you italicize a name and you just really emphasize the scholarship's names, that shows that you're really dedicated to it. Add your awarded scholarships to your resume. This is very helpful so that scholarships can see that other scholarships decided to invest in you, so maybe they should too. And then lastly, present your scholarship application professionally. And what I mean by that is, if you are able to submit it as a Word document or a PDF document, make sure that you have a cover page, a table of contents, and title pages for each section of your application. And then I promise y'all we have just a few more slides, and then I'll give it over to Kristen. But also, going into securing scholarship success. So these are tips that I really utilized that I feel was really impactful within my scholarship journey and helped me to win so many scholarships. The first one is going the extra mile, if you are able to, by adding more than what the application asks for. So for example, if an application didn't ask for these things that I'm about to list right now, then I would make sure to include that if I was able to. First thing is the resume, letters of recommendation, a personal biography. That was something that I just came up with on my own and decided I was going to write my own biography and just insert it in my application. And then also a headshot, I would insert that within my thank you letter. And then a picture of myself actually engaged in community service to show that I am involved. I'm not just saying I'm involved, but I'm showing you as well. I have proof. Next is when you win a scholarship, ask the donor if they recommend any other scholarships that you can apply for. Like I said, when I would get denied from scholarships, I would ask, I would reply back to the email and just thanking them for the award, even though I wasn't awarded, and then asking, hey, do you know of any other scholarships I can apply to? And I would also let them know that I would be reapplying, which goes into the next point. If you get denied from a scholarship, still express appreciation for the opportunity. Let them know that you are available for any volunteer opportunities or just any other programming that the foundation offers, so that they can really keep you in the back of their mind. They see that you're involved, you want to get more involved, and just really keep you up for consideration when it comes to that next application cycle. And then lastly, I just have another example right there of just someone who emailed me just saying how professional my application was, which really just goes to show that that professional touch that I would add to my applications was really beneficial. And I received that out of high school, like before I started college. So I was still a high school student at this time. And so that's when I really learned that these strategies were beneficial and they were working to my benefit. So now I'll kick it off to Kristen to present 4 tips from a scholarship provider, KR Scholars.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Deja. You guys help me thank Deja in the comments. She provided some absolute gems. As you guys can see, she is a complete scholarship guru, all-star, and we're so thankful for what you shared, Deja. We're going to have a little bit of time for Q&A, but before we close out and get into Q&A, I just wanted to provide a couple of tips from a scholarship provider standpoint. So you heard the student perspective from Deja, but as a scholarship provider with KR Scholars, we see hundreds, even thousands of applications in our annual scholarship process. And as you can imagine, we see trends on certain things that just may work better than others. And so here are 4 tips and recommendations I would give. The first is to start early and submit early. And Deja touched on this, but you want to manage your time and make sure you're not submitting the application at the last minute so that you can have a quality application. You'll have time to proofread. You'll have time to make sure you're not coming up against the clock, and if it's due at 3 p.m. Central and you thought it was Eastern time, and then there's confusion and you're trying to email the scholarship provider. So just make sure you start early and submit early so you can give yourself time to utilize the techniques that Deja is talking about and put your best foot forward. Another tip would be to tailor your application. And what I mean by that is, as a scholarship provider, there is nothing worse than when we're reviewing hundreds of applications and your scholarship is denoted to somebody else. So you're referencing another scholarship provider, letting us know you didn't even take the time to customize it to us. So that's a sure way to get thrown out of people's processes. So make sure, even if you're reusing content, that it's custom and tailored to the scholarship provider that you're applying for. Another nice touch regarding that would be in your video or in your essay, say, hey, thank you, KR Scholars, for the opportunity to apply, or thank you, Thurgood Marshall or UNCF. Some kind of personalized touch in your video or essay goes a long way in the scholarship review process. Showcase creativity is another huge tip that I would give. For KR Scholars, the video component weighs really heavily for our process. So use those video editing skills and how you guys get on TikTok and Instagram and CapCut and all that to really tell a great story and make your video engaging. I'll speak for our process that's a sure way to stand out. Sometimes that weighs more than anything for us, because whenever we're reading through hundreds of applications, seeing a video where it's engaging, it actually meets the time requirement. So if we say under 2 minutes, don't give a video that's 3 minutes, but give us a strong 2 minutes that really stands out, that shows your personality, that answers the prompt, and that really stands out from the crowd. And last but not least, before we get into Q&A, stay engaged. And what I mean by that is make your scholarship processes relational and not just transactional. As you see with Deja and I, she was a 2023 scholarship recipient of ours, but she has stayed connected with us. She attends our programs. When we send surveys to just track her progress as a student and now a graduate, she responds in a timely manner. We talk all the time, and so I'm abreast of her career ambitions and things. She's asked me to write her letter of recommendation for law school, so super honored and proud to do that for her. And then as a scholarship provider, so if somebody was to send me funding and say, hey, Kristen, we have something, we want you to award some money to some students before the year ends, who am I going to pick? I'm going to pick the students that are top of mind for me. So just make sure that you stay engaged with the scholarship provider, post them on your social media, attend the programs, and just it'll help you in renewing your scholarship and always getting additional opportunities. So those are just some quick tips. So we want to give a couple minutes for Q&A. We'll get you out of here very shortly, but feel free to drop your questions in the comments that you have for me or Deja, and we'll take a couple before we close out for the evening.
And I just want to say really quickly, as you all are thinking of questions, I know I kind of did rush through the information at the end. So if you need me to go back and just clarify anything or elaborate, just let me know and I'm happy to do so.
Awesome. We'll give it just another moment to see if we have a couple questions come through before we close out. Thank you, Daquan. Thank you guys for the positive feedback. Glad you guys enjoyed tonight's session.
Yes, thank you guys so much.
Okay, well, I'm not seeing any other questions come through. So again, I want to thank Deja for the excellent material she shared tonight. You were outstanding, and thank you for contributing back to the HBCU community through scholarship coaching. Thank you to all that attended. Oh, I see a question now. Mm-hmm. I'd ask, is there any websites you recommend specifically, Deja?
Yes. So since you did register for this webinar, you'll actually be receiving a document of additional scholarship resources that I compiled. And within that document, I did list some websites that I recommended. I just didn't want to put them all on the screen, but there are, just to go off the dome right now, HBCUconnect.com, tmcf.org, uncf.org, goingmary.com. And those are just a few that I just remembered off the top of my head. But yes, you will be receiving a document with additional scholarship websites. And then I see another question. I joined a little late, but how do you go about asking for recommendations when you don't have any close connections? That's a great question. So what I would suggest, first of all, is to really just try and build those connections first, because it's kind of hard to ask people if you don't have a connection with them. So if it's a professor, for instance, I would start going to their office hours. I would actually do that, not necessarily to gain information or just like learn more about the content that's being presented in class, but actually to just teach them more about who I am as a student, who I am as a person, tell them about my career goals. And so that later on I could have that platform to ask for a letter of recommendation. But it definitely starts earlier than later, because I would already have an established connection before I ask someone to write my letter of recommendation. And when it comes to asking for a letter of recommendation, I definitely like to help my recommenders. Like Krista was saying, I recently asked her for a letter of recommendation for law school. And what I did was I actually stated like what I wanted the letter to basically be about, like the theme of the letter, the qualities that I wanted her to highlight within the letter. I actually tried to refresh her memory on some of the things that I have done within the KR Scholars scholarship program, just to let her know like, hey, like these are some great things that I believe you could speak to within the letter. And so when you ask for that letter, also try to refresh your recommender's memory and let them know about your past experiences, some accomplishments and achievements that you've had, and just qualities that you'd like them to highlight that they have noticed within you. Hi, fellow Live My Scholar. Hello, can you expand on the hyperlinks? Yes. So when I was referring to hyperlinks, if you aren't aware of what a hyperlink is, it's basically when you can highlight a certain part of text or an essay, you can highlight that part and actually click Control K. And when you click Control K, you can insert a link to either like a portfolio that you have, maybe a website that you worked on, or just like additional work that you want to show to the scholarship committee. But it's a way to just include links within your essays without actually having to type out the link with the www and .com and all that good stuff. They can just click on that certain word that's highlighted and it'll go directly to the link that you have inserted. Yes, that's a great question. Do you use a brag sheet? I do have a brag sheet. I don't use it as much anymore, just because I just have so many documents now that I just utilize, but I used to use it a lot when I was first applying for scholarships, just having all of my accomplishments listed on it. I used to send it out when I asked people for letters of recommendation. So that goes back to Charmia's question. But yes, I do have a brag sheet that I utilize, and I try to send it out to recommenders, but I also try to utilize it within my applications. If an application does ask for my list of accomplishments and achievements, it's already right there.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys again. This was amazing, Deja. We appreciate you so much for coming in as a KR Scholars alum and providing this information. Thank you all for joining and attending. Again, KR Scholars, we want to support our HBCU scholars getting that debt-free degree. So stay tuned. Connect with us on Instagram at KR Scholars for other programs on financial literacy, workforce readiness. And we also want to thank, again, our partners at Wiley University for helping to make this possible and collaborating. You guys are going to get a survey right now in the chat, and you'll get the survey by email and a couple of additional goodies from Deja that we want you to fill out and take with you. For those who submit the survey, the first 40 people will be entered for a raffle. So make sure you guys give us some feedback on things we can do to improve this experience. And thank you all again. We appreciate you. Good luck with your applications, and stay tuned in the spring for KR Scholars Scholarship becoming available. You guys have a great night.
All. Have a good evening.
Hi, I'm Dr. Ramin Alexander, Board Chair at KR Scholars. Thank you so much for joining our program. You will be receiving a survey, so make sure you complete it and give us your feedback, and continue to follow us for more KR Scholars events and programs.